Okay, so I've got my glider board. Have you guys got a glider board yet? They're amazing. Look, I can actually bring my Thermomix to you. So preheat my oven to 200 degrees, set aside my roasting pan, but today I'm using my cast iron pot. And I'm making my rub. So what goes into my rub is 6 cloves of garlic, a lemon zested, and I used this amazing thing here, which is the kitchen toolkit. So if you haven't heard of the kitchen toolkit, it's one of our amazing items in the mix shop. It comes with 6 tools, and this one will take the skin off with no pith every single time. It's just amazing. There's actually a limited time offer hosting reward at the moment. So if you're interested in getting your consultant over, or if you've got friends on tonight, you can look at getting one of those. I've also got some peppercorns in here, a teaspoon worth, and I'm going to put all those into my Thermomix bowl. And up to speed 8 for 4 seconds. Scrape down sides. So you can see there, I've got my chopped lemon, garlic, and peppercorns. Scrape those down. And I'm going to add in my olive oil. So about 60 grams of olive oil. Two teaspoons of sea salt flakes, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. So I've got that in there ready to go. So you can imagine those flavors, the lemon, the pepper, the nutmeg, and the cinnamon. It's just amazing, this rub, especially for a lamb. So that one mixes up. And then I'm going to transfer that paste onto my lamb. So it says about 1,500 to 2,000 gram lamb. And you can see in here, that's my paste. And all I'm going to do, I actually think I might put that into my cast iron pot first so I don't make a big mess. So this is one of our cast iron pots. Beck and Elman are both going to be using these. But I think they're going to be using the round one. So this is the oval Dutch oven. And yeah, it's one of our new ranges into the mix shop. I put my lamb shoulder in there just for now so that I can put my rub onto that. So all over my lamb. This is where you might want to get your hands a little bit dirty. Want to make sure it goes into all the grooves of your lamb, all underneath. And with the shoulder where they've taken the bone out, you've got room to sort of get it in underneath as well. So you want to get every little bit of your shoulder covered in the beautiful paste. I actually don't know if I could do this without my hand. Any tips, anyone, how to rub a marinated lamb without your hands? Cooking about getting dirty. Okay, amazing. And into all the grooves. So you can see that there, it's coated in and around and even inside where the bone was. Let me just wash my hands. If there's anything you need to do, Elman?
I'm going to start making the mince for the family burger pie, because it has to cool down before we can add the burger pie. So what I've done, I've just sauteed some onion and garlic in there, and some oil that I popped in there, and I just sauteed it. So you've got this beautiful fragrance happening here, and you can see that it's just lightly sauteed. And what I'm going to do now is just going to add my mince. Let me just get to the right place. So just 500 grams of mince that you just loosely broken, and make sure that they're loose, that it's not one big lump. So I've done that before, that we can do that. So that's going to be our hamburger thing happening there. Then I'm going to add just a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of sea salt, and a quarter teaspoon of ground pepper, and add it all in there. And then without the measuring cup, because you want to have all the liquid that's the meat is going to create to evaporate. So you want it as dry as possible, because otherwise it will make your pastry soggy. All right, and that's going to happen for 8 minutes. Over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so if I was doing this in a pan in the oven, I would put it on a roasting tray, have a wire rack, and in that case, I would add some lemon juice into the base and some water. In my cast iron pot, I will add a little bit of lemon juice, but not as much as it says, and I won't add, I might just add a little tiny bit of the water, because that will help make my, add to my gravy at the end. I can add that to my agrodolce. But yeah, that's usually if you're, so you don't have to add all of the water elements for this next step. So that's then going to go into the oven with my lid on. And I'm actually going to bake this tomorrow, because I won't have time. I'll have to get up too early in the morning to, I would have to set my alarm for like 1 o'clock if I wanted to put it in the oven now. So I'm going to save that for tomorrow morning and bake that slowly tomorrow. And you want to do it really slow. And I find if you follow the recipe, it's beautiful. If you want it even slower cooked with more sort of pull, I might leave it in my oven for 6 hours at a really low temperature, around like that 140, 150. So Elman will show you guys a little bit later on what she's done with hers and how she did that. But the instructions are all there. So if you don't know how to slow roast a lamb shoulder, please follow the instructions in the recipe. They do work. I've done it many times in that way. The next thing I want to do is make for you guys the agrodolce sauce. So I'm just going to go into my recipe, and that one you would normally make once your lamb is finished. So I would be adding in, this one is a beautiful, it's like an oniony red wine sort of type of sauce that goes on. The first thing is 100 grams of water. So put that in. And then I'm going to put in some red wine vinegar. I actually almost thought that was red wine. I'm like, oh, I didn't get my red wine out, but it's not. It's red wine vinegar. I reckon it would actually be really nice with red wine as well. So it's about 100 grams of red wine. 50 grams of white sugar. I am just putting honey in mine because I warmed that up before it's a bit hard. I'm just going to skip the sugar content and put my simmering basket on, and that's going to go for 10 minutes. So I probably could have done that step before this, but anyway, over to you, Beck.
Thank you, Claire. I think they actually, the agrodolce is like an Italian sweet and sour sauce. I think that's sort of traditionally the way they look at it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I really should have my sweetening in there. I'll get something.
Honey's fine. You have to eat it before honey is fine. Okay, so guys, I'm going to be demonstrating today the Austrian sweet buns. Don't ask me to pronounce how you actually say it. Is it Buchteln? I don't know. Elman, help me out here. You're better at this stuff than me.
Buchteln.
Buchteln. Thank you. Okay, so before I kick this off, guys, I want to let you know when I made this for the first time, I got halfway through my recipe and it said to add lemon zest. Now, as we all know, your Thermomix can zest lemons. So when I did it the first time, I had to get out my zester. Tonight, however, I'm going to be using my Thermomix to make the zest. So I'm using my peeler from the kitchen toolkit, which Claire has already mentioned. And if anyone hasn't seen how thin, like it literally no white pith at all. It's such an amazing peeler. Alrighty, so I'm going to start my recipe by zesting my lemons before I do anything else. And if you didn't realise this, guys, on your TM6, if you want to get out of your guided recipe, you just press the little house button at the top and it creates a bookmark. That then allows you to use your manual notes before going back to the recipe. So I'm just going to whiz that up on about speed 9 for a couple of seconds. All right, and then I press that green bookmark at the top and it takes me back to my recipe. The first ingredient is 220 grams of milk. Remembering to tear the scales, of course. I did find this is quite a sticky dough. So if you do accidentally over pour on your milk, probably a good idea to add a little bit extra flour as well. To that, we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of yeast. So this is a yeasted dough. It's a sweet dough, but it is yeasted. All right, 30 grams of caster sugar. Sorry, Claire, it's a sweet bun, needs sugar. But you can substitute, like you could add something different if you wanted to. Oh, and by the way, this is caster sugar. So if anyone ever gets caught out with a recipe and they need caster sugar, but they don't have any, I just whiz that up about speed 7 for a few seconds. It was just raw sugar that I've turned into caster sugar. The next thing we're going to do is add a little bit of vanilla. So it says vanilla extract. I'm actually using a paste because that's just what I had. Now the lid's going to go on and that is going to gently warm the milk to activate the yeast. So 37 degrees for 2 minutes. While that's happening, let me just talk to you about the rest of this recipe. So these sweet buns are filled with jam. They are very sweet, very indulgent, and you actually are supposed to serve them with a custard. So I'm going to show you the custard later as well. Today I'm using strawberry jam. So give me a little raised hand or give me a wave if you've made jam in your Thermomix before, guys. Gillian Bath, shame on you. You've never made jam?
I don't actually eat anything sweet.
Well, then I can forgive you for that.
Thank you.
So, guys, my all-time favourite strawberry jam recipe, unfortunately, it's not a Thermomix Australia one. It comes from the Tanina Holder website. So it's her strawberry vanilla jam. I make it every year, and it's really, really, really great. The other thing with jam to remember, don't ever try and double the recipe. It will boil over and it will make a very, very big mess. Been there, done that. The other thing that you can do, guys, if you're making like a larger quantity of jam and you're wanting to gift it, so you want to make sure that it's fairly shelf stable, is you can use your aroma to steam the jars. So while the jam's bubbling away underneath, you just pop your jars in the baroma with the lid on and the steam from the jam will actually sterilise your jars, okay? So that's just another little neat trick. Obviously, you can't do more than a few at a time. So if you're wanting to do a really, you know, a couple of batches one after the other, I would still probably sterilise in my oven. But anyhow, the jam is going to be popped into the dough and then you wrap the bun around the jam. Let me just check where we're at with my, oh, look, 2 seconds. So my milk's done. The final couple of steps for this, guys, for the dough is butter. So softened butter, because we want to make sure that we keep our dough nice and warm. If I put rock hard cold butter in here now, it's going to undo all the good work that we did by warming up the milk. So room temperature butter is best. Then we're going to do 400 grams of baker's flour. So where's my spoon? 400 grams. And I'm hoping,
recording in progress.
I'm hoping I actually have enough in this jar because I transferred it out of my really big container.
Beautiful. Let's have a look.
There we go. Alrighty.
All right, wonderful. So welcome everyone to this evening. Thank you.
Shona was unmuted. Now she's muted. Alrighty, 2 egg yolks. Now, I don't know whether you guys realise this, but you can actually freeze egg whites. Did you know that? so I'm just going to transfer the whites of my eggs into a container. Top tip though, always label your container with how many whites are in there, otherwise you'll forget. So there's 1 and 2. Alrighty. And now I think the last thing is just a little pinch of salt before we pop on the lid, and we're going to need that for, I think it's 3 minutes on the kneading function. And whilst this is kneading, I think I'm going to pass across to one of the other ladies, and I can't remember who. Who is it? Who is it? Elman? No?
I think so. Are you
Yeah.
ready?
All right, so basically what I've done, I've just sauteed the mince, so you can see it's quite crumbly that you have in there, but it's still steaming hot. So they ask you to take it off the bowl and just let it steam, and every now and then I will stir it around, so just make sure that it cools down. What you can also do is just put it on a rose gold baking tray, like that, and pour the mince on top of that. Having it on a wider platform will also help to cool it down quicker, so that you can put in your pie together quickly. Now, once we've done this, they also say while the mince is cooking, you can continue with the next step. And the next step is basically to pan fry your bacon that is nice and golden brown. So I've done that before. So I've done that, and that also has to be cooled down before you put it in there. But what I found as well, instead of putting the whole pieces of bacon in there, I usually just cut them up in little pieces like that, because once you put it in the pie, it's much easier to slice the pie and have a piece of bacon for everyone, instead of it sliding off or getting that happening. So that's what we do. We also going to add some dill in there. So, you know, I don't like dill cucumbers. It's one of my pet hates, but anyway, so my husband loves them. All right, so I'm going to do half and half. So I've got the dill cucumbers that's there, but I also pan fried some red capsicum. Right, so that was char grilled. So that will be on my half, and he will have the dill on his half. So that would be a different way of doing that and getting that done. All right, so Beck, you ready to show people how to put it together?
So I'll just stop that dough. It's got 1 more minute to go, but I'm just going to give you a bit of a look at how it's come together. Now, I did, as I said, I've added slightly more flour tonight, because when I made it the last time, it was a little bit too wet. And I also found that I had to scrape down the sides of the bowl and just combine the last little bit of flour right at the end. However, I've pre-made some dough to show you what you're looking for. So this has been sitting now for, well, the recipe says an hour. That's been sitting for closer to an hour and a half. So you can see it's quite well risen. All I did was grease my bowl with a little bit of olive oil to stop it from sticking. And now what I might do, and I've just realised I've got things.
Hey, Beck. Oh,
Yeah.
no, we don't need mine to finish, do we? Because Elman's got a finished batch. Because mine will take 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Do you want me to just put my rest of my ingredients in, then we'll come back to us?
Yeah, I can wait.
Okay. So I just want to do this because this takes half an hour to cook. So what you can see is the reduced vinegar, sweetening, and water that we had in there. So that boiled down, reduced a little bit, cooked through. Now it's asking for a garlic clove. So I've got 1 garlic clove, 2 red onions just cut into halves. And then I put my lid on. Chop that at speed 6. So you can see in there, I've sort of got an onion, vinegary, chopped up mix there. And all I'm going to add in is some currants, some fennel seeds, salt, black pepper. So I've got all of those ready in that bowl there. I actually have sultanas instead because I didn't have currants and I didn't think it really mattered. 30 grams of balsamic vinegar. And I'm going to cook that for half an hour. So that will now simmer away. Thanks, Beck.
All right, I'm back and I do apologise. My family's just walked in the door. The dog might bark. So I apologise if that happens. All right, what I'm going to do is turn out my dough. And what I did forget to show you guys is with this recipe, you need to preheat your cast iron dish. So I've actually just popped that into my oven and I'll show you what the dish looks like when I bring it out of the oven. But we're just going to press out our dough and then portion that up into 12. The recipe says 12. It's up to you whether you want to do slightly bigger. All right. So I'm just cutting that up there now into 12 reasonably even pieces. Don't be too picky about it. This is one of the dough cutters from the Mix shop in case you guys haven't seen that one. I really like it because it's got this grey grip on the handle. All right, now what you're going to do is grab, can everyone see that okay? You're going to grab a piece of your dough, grab your jam, grab a tablespoon. And you're just going to take a scoop of jam, and this will definitely work better with thicker consistency jam as well. And then I'm going to come nice and close. What you want to do is just sort of pinch the dough up. Whoa, my dough's escaping. Hang on. Shake it down like that. And then what you want to do is sort of make a little pouch. You know, like when you go to a Chinese restaurant and you get those steamed buns, you sort of want to start like that. And then you twist it to seal it off and make it round. And then what we're going to be doing, I've already grabbed a piece of baking paper here, and I don't know whether you can see, but I've drawn a circle the same shape and size as the base of my dish. So I just traced around the bottom. And then what we're going to do is arrange our buns onto that. I'll do one more to give you another look. Slightly less jam this time. There we go. So just pinch it up together, just like that. Little pinch, little twist, make it nice and round. And then you're going to finish off all 12 of those. And let me just quickly grab my thing out of the oven so I can show you what you're going to do. So this should have been preheated for about 20 minutes, guys. So this is the other lovely Ferro cast iron. So it's round and shallow, which I really love. I'm just going to pop that down on the bench. And then all you're going to do is take off the lid. Once you finish rolling out all of your buns, leave them for about 20 or 30 minutes to finish proving. Then pop them straight into your dish, lid on, and into the oven. All right, and if there's anything that wasn't clear about that, leave me a message and I'll explain it better later. All right, there we go.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly, before I put the pie together, I'm just going to start and show you how to use the rice cooker rice, because I've got this beautiful lamb shoulder on the bench that I've made, and I would love to serve it with some rice in there. So I decided to make the South African yellow rice, which we usually like to eat with bobotie or any curries or any dish, because it's sort of a sweetish type of rice, colorful yellow with the turmeric in there. And I'm going to make it using the rice cooker mode. So I don't know if you've any of you been using the rice cooker mode. It's really quite quick and easy to make, and you can make a little bit more rice in there than you can do it steaming it in the basket. All right. So, but there's a trick involved with the rice cooker. mode that you have. You have to rinse your rice really, 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 really well. Okay, so that there's no starchy left in there. Otherwise, it will get stodgy and it won't be nice. Another tip that you can do is I use basmati rice, and you can choose the brand that you like. All right, so then do it once and have a look and see what the result is, because sometimes, depending on the type of rice, you will have to either shorten the time while the rice is cooking or extend the time. All right, so play around with it until you get that right ratio for you, and then it will always be right if you use that same type of rice that you can do. All right, so I'm just going to start cooking, and they would say in here, place a simmering basket on top and then weigh your rice in there, and then you have to rinse it really well until it's done. But I've done that already, because I'm sure you don't want me to wait till I do that. So I'm going to add the rinsed rice in here. Let me just grab my spatula. I'm just going to pop the rice in there. So you can go up to 500 grams of rice with using the rice cooker to get that done. All right. Next, add 650 grams of water. Then we're going to add some vegetable oil, and that is really important when you do cook rice, to always add some water in there, because that prevents it from frothing up. So it's always a good idea to have that happening, whether you steam it or you use the rice cooker, a mode that you can do that. Next, 1 teaspoon of sea salt. And I like to make my salt myself, so I just buy rock salt, and then I blitz it in the Thermomix for about 7 seconds, right, to get that done. Right, and love my rose gold measuring spoon. So 1 teaspoon of salt in there, and 1 teaspoon of turmeric. I'm just going to pop that in there. 1 teaspoon of turmeric in there. And then stir it with a spatula. So basically what we're doing is we just make sure that the turmeric and the oil is mixed well with the rice that you put in there. All right, so just stir that through. Make sure that it's all nice and mixed, and you can see it's nice and yellow already. And then we're going to put that, the lid back on. And through the hole in the lid, I don't really know why through the hole in the lid, but you can just pop it in there whenever you want to. So we're just going to put in a piece of cinnamon in there, cool, and 40 grams of raisins. So I don't have raisins, so I just use sultanas, and I prefer to use sultanas. So I'll pop that in there. And then we have to put the simmering basket on top, because we're going to go higher than 95 degrees. And this is your rice cooker mode. All you need to do is just stir it. And off it goes. It will determine how long it's going to cook, depending on the weight. It says there half an hour, but it will adjust as the time goes on. Right. So in that way, we've got our rice cooking, and we can just keep on going. Beck, did you start the custard? Did you want to start the custard before I show them?
I can, Elman, and I do apologise. I completely forgot the conversation we had where you were going to show your rice before I showed my buns. All right. So the next step in our recipe, guys, as I said, I've just finished rolling those. They need to rest, go into the hot pot, and then into the oven. But we're going to serve this with some, bear with me. I'm just skipping ahead in my recipe. This is all the instructions for the things I just did. Oh, I forgot to brush them with the butter. I did that the first time too. Doesn't matter. So you're supposed to melt some butter and then brush the top of the buns. We'll just skip.
I brushed mine.
Alrighty, we've melted the butter. I should have just gone back into my recipe detail and skipped ahead in my recipe, guys, shouldn't I? Here we go.
That's what I did, and then I was like, oh, this is taking too long. I'm just going to
All righty, clean bowl. So custard, so versatile, so easy with the Thermomix. And it's just like Nana used to make, not that stuff out of a packet. 250 grams of milk. This one's got a little extra ingredient as well, which you'll see in a minute. Because remember, it's Austrian, so there's a little secret ingredient. We've got cream. So this is our really heavy custard. 250 grams of cream. My family's going to go nuts. I've not made custard in ages. All right. 4 egg yolks, which I should have cracked earlier. I do apologise, friends. I'm going to make you wait.
Hey Beck, when I made this earlier today, I was wondering what difference does it make doing 4 yolks as opposed to like just 2 whole eggs?
Look, you probably could use the whole eggs. I think traditionally though, a custard, whoops, I'm talking and cracking eggs at the same time. The fat content, the yolks where all the fat is, that's what makes it creamy. But also sometimes, I don't know whether you've ever had this happen where the white actually, it makes it go eggy, like you get the little white bits in the custard. So by removing the whites, it just ensures a smoother, creamier custard.
Yeah, sometimes like a little bit stringy. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, you just get the little bits of cooked white. And sometimes you go through your custard. Sorry, guys. Nearly done. I've had a very long day today.
Yeah, and it also makes your custard nice and yellow.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. And the colour. I didn't think of that, Elman. Alrighty, here's our secret ingredient. Booze. It's rum. I didn't have regular rum. This is Captain Morgan's spiced rum. 1 to 2 tablespoons. Now, did anyone realise, here's a little fun fact, in the, wrong way, in the bottom of your TM6 measuring cup, there's a little divot, like a little hole in the bottom there. That's a tablespoon. So if you ever need to measure a tablespoon and you don't have one handy, grab your measuring cup. And because it's been a long day, let's have 2 tablespoons of the booze, hey? All right, another little squirt of the vanilla. And then what we're going to be doing is adding a small amount of corn flour. Now, some custards, it depends how thick you like it. Leave the corn flour out if you want more of a pouring style custard, but if you want it to be quite thick, definitely add your corn flour. So 20 grams of that is what the recipe calls for. I'm going to do slightly less because I prefer mine a little bit runnier. And then our sugar. So again, it's calling for caster sugar. Let's be honest, when I do custard, I usually just use raw sugar. But well, I already had some milled up, so let's add that. Now again, 50 grams is what the recipe says. I reckon the buns are sweet enough, so you probably don't need quite as much sugar in the custard. But there we go. So we're using the thicken mode on the TM6, which it's an automated manual cooking mode. And so rather than having to know what temperature and time to set for your custard, your TM6 can actually sense once it's thickened. So the resistance against the blade, the machine just knows. So it will adjust the cooking time accordingly. All right, so I'm going to run that and come back and show you once it's done.
Okay, so I'm going to put the pie together. So I haven't showed you how to make the dough because it's really basically flour, butter, flour, oil, salt that you put in there, and yeast and water, but you don't heat up the yeast. So it means it doesn't proof so quickly. So that's why it needs a longer proving time. So it's a slow proof and it needs to be in a warm place. So what I've been doing to keep my dough, where is it? I'm sure you know this trick, is that you take a thermos server, put some boiling water in there, hot water, then you put your aroma on top of it, like that. Okay, and then you can roll your dough into your Thermomat and pop it in here with the lid and leave it there for 45 minutes to an hour, and you will have beautiful proof dough. Another thing that you need to know about this hamburger pie dough, once you make it, it really is quite crumbly when you take it out of the bowl. So because it just doesn't have, I think it's got one egg in there, there's no other liquid in there. So it becomes quite crumbly. So you need to put it together to form like a nice dough, right? And then they rest until it double in size, and then you can have that. Now, once you've finished with the dough that you've got in there, you need to divide the dough into 2/3 and 1/3. All right. So I've already done the 2/3, and I've rolled it out and put it in our beautiful cast iron pot. So that is the base for our hamburger pie. Right. So then you need to make sure that when you do the topping of it, it needs to be bigger than the 26 that's there. And I love the Thermomat that we've got, because you can see the circles here is up to 28. So more or less around there that you can do. I like to start off by making my dough in a circle first and then flatten it out, because that gives you an easier way of getting around that you can get going. And then you just roll it out evenly. And I love this French rolling pin of ours, because it really doesn't squish the edges flat. So you can just keep on rolling that until you get the size that you want, that you can on top of your pie to have that. And you can actually feel where it's a bit thicker, and you can just keep rolling that to get that. So I don't want it to be too small, so I think I need to do it a little bit bigger. It's not perfectly round, but it gives you a nice base, basically, when you start off like that. So you can get that beautiful round shape that you have in there. So this is ready to go on top of our pie. Okay, so that's what it is. I'm just going to put this aside for the moment. And I'm going to put my pie together. So once you've got your base all lined up, and remember you have to pre-oil your cast iron pot before you put that dough in there, your pastry in there. Then we're going to add our mince first. Right. So I put it in the rose gold pan, so to cool it down a bit, because it needs to be cold, otherwise it will cook and make your bottom of your pie a bit soggy. Right, so just going to scrape that all in there. Now, what you're going to add on top, and this is something that I've done extra, because it asks in the recipe to put in some tomato sauce on top of it. But instead of doing commercial tomato sauce that you can do, I made the pizza sauce that you can find it in the collection for the Ovana pizza oven. They call it pizza sauce. It's really quite a simple sauce that you can make, but it's beautiful. You can use it on scrolls, on pizzas, on hamburger pies, whatever you would like to do. All right. So just make sure that you've got your meat in there, and just give it a little bit of press. You can, because you're going to spread that tomato sauce and the Dijon mustard on top of it. Yeah. So easy enough that you can do that. Right, and then we're going to use, well, I say 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce, but I put in as much as I need to, and whatever it is. So you can see that it's just a beautiful consistency, and I just spread that on top of it, all over. This, so that helps a little bit to get that done. Slightly, the spatula is much better than using the back of the spoon. Just found that out. So once you've got that, then you can put a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, or 2, depending on how you like, whether you like the Dijon mustard or not. So I'll just pop it in there and one down there, and just spread it evenly so that you can get that beautiful flavor right through. Right. And this is now where you can start layering your pie with all the ingredients that we've pre-prepared, that we had in there. Okay. I like a little bit more mustard, so that's why I put a little bit more mustard in there. but you can really play around according to your flavors and what you would like to get that done. All right, now I just have to remember which half I'm doing what. So if I look at the handles of that, I'm going to do half that way and half this way for dill cucumbers and my one that I do. So you just layer them out, just like a hamburger. All right. Put your dill cucumbers in there. There you go. And I'll put that one in there. And then on the other half, I'm going to put my red peppers in there, your capsicums that you have in there. Right, so you can really play around with the flavors and what you put into your pie, your hamburger pie, or depending on what you want to do. Just be careful that the things that you put in there that it's not too wet, otherwise it will not be good with your pastry. And then we're going to just add bacon on top of it. Right, easy enough. And you can see having it small and chopped up like that helps to, you know, when you cut it, when it's done, that it will be easy and everybody will have a piece of bacon. Right. And then we top it up with cheese slices. All right, so make sure that everything is covered. All done. I love cheese. You know, my dad used to tell me, you know, if you could, you would probably eat cheese with your ice cream too. And I love both of them. So yeah, can't go wrong with cheese. Okay, so I love cheese. Okay, so once you've done that and it's all covered, that is when you're going to add your top of your dough back onto that one. Okay, so once we do that, I'm just going to take this one. I love this dough because it's quite flexible and you can pick it up. So I just pop it on top there. And this is where you have to crimp and, with your fingers. So what I try to do is I just start at one point, take the one at the top and turn it around and just pinch it with my fingers. So there, I don't know if you can see that. So just there and pinch, right? So, and that you go all the way around and you just pinch it, make sure that there's no gap or gape in there. So I like to pinch it, the top layer with, take the one at the back and just pinch it into the one on the top, that it can just close it up. And I found that because I've done the other one a little bit earlier, that to fill it in, it dries out very quickly. So you must be careful when you do that, that you don't let it sit too long, because it will definitely dry out the dough or the pastry. Right, so, and that's what basically what you do all around, just pinch it and make it rustic looking that you have. And once you've done that, you brush it with egg and sprinkle it with sesame seeds, and voila, you've got a hamburger pie waiting for you. And it goes into the oven, preheated oven to 100 degrees, and it goes in there for about 35 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on how warm your oven is. Right, so once we've done that, we just brush this with some egg, beaten up egg. Get that done. Just make sure that you do the sides. And what I also found, that when you take the pie out of the cast iron pot, it's really easy to do that, because after you've baked it, it has to rest for 15 minutes in the pot before you take it out. But once you do that, it slides out very quickly or easily to do that. And for me, the best way that I found, you know, depending on what big bowls you've got, I use the paddle board of the Bavana pizza oven, you know, the paddle boards that they use, because that fits in perfectly. But once you bake this, if there's any of the egg that's on the side of the lid, it will get stuck on it. So before you can take it out, just make sure that you loosen it up, and then it will slide out and get that done. And then the finishing touch is just a little bit of sesame seeds that you can do. And you can put as much or as little in there that you want. And that is basically the family burger pie. And that goes into the oven and baked for 35 minutes. A whole pot full of yumminess. Oh. And that's it. Your pie is ready to go into the oven.
Ellen, that looks so good.
Oh, it is so good.
And I'm very impressed by your pastry crimping, because you did a much better job than me. Would anyone like to see the finished product? Yeah. All right. So as Elman said, it slid out of the dish quite well. There we go. And I haven't cut. So this has actually been in my fridge overnight. I baked this yesterday because I didn't have time today. But I thought I might cut a slice. So let me.
Yep, we want to see it cut.
Yeah. All right. So, and it is quite, like I said, it's been chilled. So when you serve it up at home and it's freshly cooked, it's going to be a little bit different. But there we go. There's all our layers.
So the pastry's a little bit bready. Like
Yeah, it is. It is. I found that as I was making it, it is quite a thick pastry. But I didn't realise how thick until I looked at it like that. Elman, was yours that thick?
I roll mine out thin because you can feel it when it's too thick.
Yeah, because I didn't want to waste any of the pastry. So perhaps I didn't need quite as much pastry.
Yeah, you can do that. I think at the bottom, you need to have something in there to support all the ingredients that you've got in there, but it doesn't have to be that thick. Yeah, you can make it a bit thinner. Yeah.
And do you want to see the custard as well while I'm here?
Yes, why not?
So there's our beautiful yellow custard.
Oh, that looks so nice.
Now we need to see some finished buns, Claire Wells.
Yeah. So a few got stolen from I can't even say it. I was like, yeah, Elman, you need to be the one to say that. I can't say it. Yeah, awesome. So here they are. I actually cooked these this afternoon. So there you go. There's been 3 have been stolen and wandered off on their own. And you can sort of see, like, when I did them, hang on, they just pull apart, like scones would. And when I did them, I found that the jam, I probably rolled them a little bit too much, like pinched them a little bit too much. So the jam was right on the edge of my buns. And I didn't have squares. It kind of went into rectangles. I'm like, okay, this is not working for me. So I recommend definitely try and get squares, not rectangles, because otherwise you do end up with jam on the edges. But
you know what I actually did when I did my practice run, I have to admit, the recipe says to cut squares. I rolled mine into little balls and then pressed them into circles. Just like I would, like if I was making a bread roll, I just gently rolled it, pressed it round, and it was actually much easier to pinch together.
Yeah, I think so. But so light. I actually haven't eaten one because I don't eat bread. But Beck, do they taste like scones or sweet buns?
It's kind of a bit like scones with jam. But the lemon rind gives it a lovely sort of zesty flavour.
What I loved about this was putting it into the hot oven with the lid on, the hot pan with the lid on, and it livens it so quickly. So it's such a fast cook.
Yeah,
So
well, I put mine in prematurely. I didn't give mine time to rise. And in fact, I need to go and remove the lid now to finish baking them. So guys, we start them with the lid on, and that really gives you a bit of an oomph to get them to rise. Then you remove the lid for the last 5 to 8 minutes, and that browns up the top. And then the last step is a little dusting of icing sugar to make them pretty.
All right.
My agrodolce is nearly done. But the other thing I was going to do is I just want to quickly show you guys, because I know, here's my cut up fennel. So I'm going to be adding this tomorrow when I put my, Elman, did you do the fennel as well? Yep, awesome. So I just cut it up, made sure there's a little bit of the core on each piece. And I've got potatoes that are all ready for me to peel. So I have unwashed potatoes and I've just got them in my blade cover peeler. So I'll put them in for about 3 minutes. I don't like to peel them for the full 4 minutes, and I'll have those ready for when they need to go in. So do you want to show the end result for the lamb, Elman?
I can certainly do that. So what we've made earlier, just take this little. So if I take that off,
Ta-da!
look at that. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Right, so I've got my potatoes. I didn't peel my potatoes, so I like them like that. So that's it. And my little fennel is here that you can have, and it smells absolutely divine. I don't know how soft this lamb is. I had it in for about 4 hours. So look at that.
Wow.
It just pulls apart. Right, so it's just amazing to have that. Smell is just great. And this is what the acrodolce looks like. Right, so it's kind of like almost like a chunky chutney type of thing that you have. Sweet and sour, like Beck said, that you can have that. That mint and parsley and fennel seeds and all of those things in there. And that finishes off.
There's throwing something in her Thermomix. I can't tell what.
I just threw in some parsley and mint as Elman was talking about it.
Oh.
So that is what's going on. And then the rice is here. So I just want to show you the rice as well. Let me just take this away. The rice at this has to go for another minute and a bit, but that should be fine because the rice that I've got usually takes a bit shorter time that you have. So with this one here, once you take the rice out, just make sure that you use a fork to fluff it, right? Because it's going to, oh, it looks amazing. Just take the cinnamon quill out because you don't want the cinnamon quill in there. It will be an unpleasant surprise for somebody biting on that. Right, and then you just pop that down. And you can see it's just beautiful and fluffy and delightful. Now, the recipe says that you need to add a tablespoon of brown sugar in there, and as well as butter. The butter I will do, but I don't like putting in the sugar in there. I love these little spatulas. They are so good. All right, so just pop them in there. And that gives your plate such a beautiful color. You know, you eat the rainbow, basically. So we've got all of this happening. And what is nice about this, you just put in some water and vinegar and you wash it up there. All right. So once you get here, look at that. Beautiful, light and fluffy that you can do that. And then you can just add your butter and that will be melted into that and give it that beautiful, yummy creaminess that you have. All right, so you roll that in there, and when you put the sugar in there, it will be sweet. And I prefer not to put the sugar in. I prefer it like that without the sugar, because I feel that the sultanas or the raisins that you put in there provides enough sweetness to the rice that makes it unique. And that's basically South African yellow rice.
Aren't you lucky? You now get to eat slow cooked lamb and rice and potatoes. And
my husband has been hovering around here saying, when are we eating? So he's definitely going to enjoy this.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's a wrap for us, isn't it? As you guys know, we're always looking for more consultants to jump on board with us and share the Thermomix love and your passion for your product, which clearly you all have because you're here tonight. So if you want to stick around, I'll run through a little bit about what's involved in being a consultant. But yeah, thank you so much, Beck, Elman, for being here tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the recipes, and go and have a go, try something new. If you don't have the cast iron range, don't worry, just use other things that you've got at home. Anything
if anyone wants to see a rerun of the buns being formed, the Mix Shop Australia Facebook page, they actually shared my video of that earlier today. Oh, no, sorry, it was Instagram.
And we're going to be here first Thursday of every month, bringing you a cooking class with our branch. So different people presenting, but we'll be here every first Thursday.
Can you please tell us about the kitchen toolkit?
Yes, who's got one? Mine's all through the drawer in pieces.
I can show you mine. I've got it here.
Awesome.
I've got one too.
I'll tip it for you, Elman. So it comes in a pouch, like a heavy duty pouch that rolls up. Inside, let me fold that over. So there is a pair of kitchen scissors. There is, oops, I've got some extra bits in mine. We've got 2 different kinds of paring knife. So 1, 2. The other knife that's in there is the brunch knife. So this one is really great for slicing bread and spreading butter and things like that. What else do I use that for? Lots of things. Then the peeler that I showed you guys earlier, and a scoop. So the scoop is the most amazing invention ever. It's great for ice cream, sorbet, all that stuff, but for taking the seeds out of pumpkins, the flesh out of avocados. Anyone else got some ideas? But I love it. It's really good. And it's yeah, it's an additional host reward at the moment. So you can get 2 host rewards for hosting one demo.
That is available till the 6th of September.
Yeah, a few more days.
So I'm just going to grab the Linktree link. That is where we put all of our classes in the Linktree for you guys. So let me just grab that. And if you go into the Linktree, and also Capital Thermomix's VIP, we post all of our cooking classes in that group as well. So if you're not sure when they're on, these 2 avenues are for you. Let's grab this. Okay, so Linktree, which is Pinnacle Thermomix Linktree, always have our cooking classes available in there when we have them. And yeah, if you do Facebook Capital Thermomix's VIP, and also let your consultant know that you're interested and they can keep you up to date. Awesome. I'm going to stop recording now. Thank you.
Thank you.